So people, there is good news today. The good news is very simple, that Farouk Lawan has been jailed for 7 years. You remember him? Many of you, maybe if you're too young, you might not. When Goodluck Ebele Jonathan took over in 2010-11, he constituted this panel to look into the fuel subsidy round-tripping fraud. And Farouk Lawan was in the National Assembly as a House of Rep member, and he headed the committee that actually looked into that scandal. And the company of Otedola, the one you call Otedola, you know, the company of Otedola was somewhat fingered, not indicted, but fingered. Now, I still have those videos. I tell people, many of us keep records. So, you know, at the end of the day, he called Otaluka to give him, I think that was about $500,000. These things are not made up, $500,000. Otaluka probably, you know, playing smart, planted camera to record him. If you still remember, or you're too young, you can no longer remember, I will refresh our memories this evening so that we'll see. If you look at when that case started and where we are today, you may find out where some people are angry that the judiciary in Nigeria appear to be too slow. And again, too slow for our liking, because it's damn too slow. Honestly, damn too slow. But having said that, let me quickly see if I can pull up the reports from Premium Times that actually looked into, or rather reported that, because that's the judgment was delivered today anyway. So let me quickly see. But for some reason, my internet is blinding. It's effing slow. Okay. Let's see if you can see me. So that's it. So that's let me expand it a little bit. Yeah. So that's him here. That's his face. So Farouk Lawan jailed for 7 years for taking 500,000 bribe, that is dollars, from millionaire Femi Otedola. You know, and the news reads, count one of the charges is not based on the suspicion but on credible evidence. The defendant, Mr. Lawan, corruptly asked for 3 million and received a 500 bribe in 2 tranches from Otaluka. He was denying it. So that's why it is always good to keep evidence. He denied it, but there were video evidences showing exactly that he did. And without wasting time, what I'm going to do this evening is to, you know, let us recap these videos. The federal government, the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, High Courts in Abuja has sentenced a former federal lawmaker, Farouk Lawan, to 7 years imprisonment for taking bribe while serving as a chairman of the defunct House of Rep ad-hoc committee investigating the fraud around fuel subsidy in 2012, as I said before. Now, Angela Otaluka, the trial judge, handed down the verdict in an hours-long verdict on Tuesday, that is today. Now let me go back and refresh our memories on what is actually happening here, because the guy, in as much as it's 2012, I mean this is 2021, so we have, this is about 11 years that's this case been going on. 11 good years this case has been going on. So you can, you know, that will tell you No, that's no, it was not Gije. No, I didn't mean to say that it was Goodluck Jonathan, but that was instituted under his governance. Jonathan was the president then. That's, you know, the House of Reps, basically based on the cry of the Nigerians, did the needful. So let's look at how channels reporters, when when Suleiman Alede was still with channels then, let's see, Farouk Lawan, you will see how evil some of them can be. You will see how
that the report.
Okay, you will see. This is Suleiman Alede. Look at how young he was 9 years ago. Me too. So you will see how he played on the people. Even then, the former governor of Imo State, Emeki Hedioha, was the deputy speaker, and Emeki Hedioha presided over that time. So let's take a look and watch this.
Of the Honorable Farouk Lawan-led subsidy probe panel have been submitted to the House of Representatives is no longer news. But what is now news is the accusation and counter-accusation between Mr. Femi Otedola, an oil marketer, and the panel chairman, Mr. Farouk Lawan, over a $620 bribe. This next report by our correspondent Deji Bademosi chronicles some of the events leading to what could become the most sensational bribery case in the history of the National Assembly.
We presented a report that, to the best of our knowledge and to the best of our ability, represented the work that we did.
He was widely considered a hero and the shining light of the House of Representatives.
I recall when you made a presentation the other day.
For 3 whole weeks in the months of January and February, Mr. Lawan was the senator of all eyes as he pilots affairs at the subsidy probe panel.
You see, the funny thing here is, while this was going on, everyone at that point was praising Farouk Lawan, saying how marvelous job he was doing. People thought he was fighting for Nigerians, but invariably he was fighting for his pocket.
He and members of his team grilled oil marketers for unending hours in their bid to unravel the truth.
This fuel subsidy.
By April 24th, the panel had concluded its assignment and placed this 210-page report before the entire House for consideration. After a 2-day debate, some amendments were made and the report was approved. And shortly after, this is what Mr. Lawan had to say about the pressure he and his committee members came under.
I'm not going to mention names or tell you who. Yes, we had pressures. There are pressures from some of the marketers, equally putting pressure, most of them going through either friends or even some colleagues in the House. But we made it very clear. Anybody who is not guilty of anything should have no cause to worry.
Does this guy sound like some people you know in government now? They sound like holier than thou. He's sounding as if, oh, people approached us. Oh, Kai, we are fighting corruption and people, everybody coming. We are going to do the right thing. Gaskia, we are going to do the right thing. They are putting too much pressure everywhere, but we are not going to bat. We are going to do the right thing. That's the way he sounds. Does it sound familiar?
But over a month later, June 9th to be precise, the whole story changed dramatically. Billionaire oil magnate Femi Otedola burst the bubble. He alleged that Mr. Farouk Lawan had approached him, solicited and collected $620,000 as bribe money to remove his companies from the list of oil firms indicted in the panel's report. The $620,000, he said, was only part payment, as the actual sum is $3 million. Mr. Farouk's first reaction was complete denial, saying Mr. Otedola lied. But he has since adjusted that to say he indeed collected the money only to expose Mr. Otedola.
See, when he didn't know that Otedola recorded the collection of that money, He said it's a lie. Otaluka was just playing pranks, you know, just talking blah, blah, blah. Eventually, the first video was released. When he saw it, like someone in Kano, whom everybody saw in camera glare, putting money right, left, and center in his bullion van Babariga. But when the president was in Paris and was asked what his opinion on a governor sitting in Kano using his bullion van Agbada to take the state fund, and the president said, well, we do not know the type of technology they used in making such videos. I said, well, that must be a Kano wood, because it's beyond Nollywood that such video by a contractor, and till today, again, that Kano wood is still there, nothing has happened. So you can see, again, his denial. I will play us the video also of the real video where he was collecting.
The police is now investigating the whole affair. As for the two companies at the center of the controversy, we traced them to page 146 of the Farouk Lawan's panel report. Both Synopsys Enterprises Limited and Xenon Petrol and Gas Limited were numbers 5 and 6 on the list of oil firms that obtained forex but did not import petroleum products. The panel had recommended that the companies on the list be referred to the anti-corruption agencies. However, the two companies had their names removed from the list at the instance of Mr. Lawan when the House debated and considered the recommendations. Fortunately, we caught that on tape, and here's how both Synopsys Enterprises Limited and Xenon Petrol and Gas Limited got their names removed from the list on the advice of Mr. Farouk himself.
You see, sometimes it's good that these things are electronically documented, because when we leave this earth, the face you're looking at now, Mazi, will die one day, and probably my grandchildren would want to know how and what were the things that drove Granddad. They will come here and they will begin to look at his pattern of thinking, the way Granddad looks, and everything. And that same thing applies to them, because we must all die one day. Now, Farouk approached the House without, and the reason why he did this was because at this point, he had already met Otedola. They've agreed on a deal to remove the name of this company, Xenox, right? And he came back to the House. That's the next clip you're going to watch. He came back to the House, stood before everybody, even to the point that the deputy speaker, what is that? The deputy speaker was even, his reaction will tell you that he was taken aback, but he didn't have any evidence at that time to challenge him. Watch.
The chairman of the committee to give us a further brief on recommendation number 29.
Mr. Chairman, arising from the presentation, as I mentioned in my earlier remarks, there are instances where further documentation was submitted to us, and I want to recommend that number 5 and 6, we were able to establish that number 5 and 6 were not on the petroleum subsidy scheme. So I want to recommend that we amend this list, and the amendment should be that the marketers who obtain forex but as amended who did not import petroleum products should be referred to the relevant anti-corruption agencies with a view to verifying what they used the forex for. I therefore move that amendment.
You see, in the camera glare of everybody, he there told them that this name will be removed. And now, that they were not involved, blah, blah, blah.
Honorable Farouk, I guess this is amendment coming from your committee.
See, this guy is now at this point, was very shocked. And look at his reaction.
Interesting, because you've not...
You see? Sometimes this guy is, he says, interesting. Again, this is a Meki Hedioha, the former governor of Imo State, whom the Supreme Court the aeroplane drivers drove away.
Now, can we therefore listen in silence again to Honorable Farouk? Honorable Farouk, can you, our colleagues want to hear you once more.
Our colleagues, when we came up with this list, we were guided by the list of those companies because our mandate was to investigate the issue of subsidy. So those ones that collect subsidy and did not utilize collected forex, but did not import, or we could not establish that they actually imported, we recommended that this should be further investigated. Our initial instinct was to ask them to refund, but we felt that we should demand for further investigation so that perhaps in the course of the investigation, it could be established whether that they actually utilize the forex for something else. Now, since the presentation of this, we have received further information, just like in the case of one or two other recommendations that will come to, indicating that two of the companies were not on the PSF scheme at all. So we are recommending that we should amend this to only relate to those companies that were on the PSF scheme.
My name is Jerry Manway. I'm from Taraba. Mine is a further clarification on the names of the companies to highlight. Okay.
I rise to second the motion, ably moved by the chairman of the committee. I so second.
My dear colleagues, those in favor of the amendments as proposed by the committee and seconded by Honorable Razak, say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it.
See, the ayes have it. At this point, this was withdrawn. Someone is asking what is Otedola's fate. I think Otedola has nothing here because Otedola acted here as the whistleblower. So I think, I don't know. Again, that's part I don't know what eventually will happen to him, but I think he acted as a whistleblower. If he acted as a whistleblower, then that maybe it will be your sins will be forgiven. Now, watch the video of how Otedola gave him this money. This guy really did a great job on him. Planted this camera without him knowing, and he went in there. The cameras caught him. Watch.
Why won't discuss it with them? You're the only person I'm dealing with.
You see, listen to him. He said, "You are the only person I am dealing with. I am not going to discuss with the committee." So he's dealing with him alone. Watch.
I'm going to do it tomorrow. You handle it. Thank you.
He's there promising him, I will handle it. Handling it meaning he will take it out and he will convince the National Assembly and everything will be swept under the carpet.
I don't suffer for this thing. What you don't know anything about is because I'm going through.
Don't worry about that. Okay. We'll sort it out.
Don't worry about anything. We will sort it out.
Okay, so that's the
This is the funny part. Watch. We have Bullion Van Babariga. We have. I never knew that some cap can contain thousands of dollars, right? Some caps are Bullion Van caps as well. I don't know why. I actually wear a cap that can't even contain maybe 500 pounds or $500. But watch how this one will contain.
You must be putting under a lot of pressure.
No, I'm under.
Well. So I'm going to do it tomorrow now. Tomorrow, I won't apologize.
Don't worry. That's what I'm...
You see, this is the day he went and said, "Oh, these two we should remove." Otedola was even wondering, then how are you going to do it? Was the question Otedola asked him. He said, "Don't worry how I'm going to do it." To tell you, sometimes we just watch comedy in the National Assembly.
I'm used to the house. Allow me.
Allow me, I will handle it. Reassuring Otedola that tomorrow, when he goes into the office, he is going to convince the National Assembly to remove that.
So this is 100,000 now. Okay. So the balance will be 2.5. No, 2.5 million.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, this one is how much?
Yes, 250,000.
Okay.
$250,000. $250,000.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I have to cut a plane. I have to cut a plane. I have to cut a plane to bring the 2.5 to me. Why do you take up down? Because it is too bulky to take up here.
No, it's okay. Once, would you be in town?
Yes.
Okay, just call me when it comes.
But to carry it, I don't want them to see you.
No, I'll tell you why we should bring it.
Now they are arranging how they will carry the other 2-point-something million. See, money not defeat these people, I'm telling you. You and I are here hungry, aching out, trying to make ends make ends meet. And they are talking about our collective wealth from the south, from the old eastern region, from the south of today. They are talking of how, and I don't want to get angry, man.
So just arrange a rendezvous. And at that place we met before.
Okay.
Yeah, we just met.
You don't want to just
You see how he distributed that. Honestly, I think having seen this and having looked at the bullion van Agbada in Kano, I think we shall now be fearing anybody with Agbada, because that Agbada can actually contain some serious bank notes. But it's good that actually, at the end of the day, though it took time for him to be sentenced, eventually he was sentenced, and for 7 years. What I do not know, because I remember actually, in 2015, he actually contested. I think he actually won. I don't know. I think he actually won, but he didn't win in 2019. So it means nothing to them. We know today people who ought to be in jail, but you and I, you watching me today, you celebrate them. You celebrate them. And you are saying, "Oh, give us our nation, give us our nation." But you're here. You, after chanting, "Give us our nation," you go and celebrate them. We saw how James Ibori stole money. The money now that is being returned to Delta. And Delta are now saying, yeah, it is Delta state money. But when the federal government was pursuing that case, Delta said their money wasn't missing. They couldn't provide any document, any proof to say that this is money taken from Delta State. But the day the man was released from prison, the people of Delta, you una no try at all, una no do well, una no try. Waiting. This is what you did the day Ibori was released. Shame living.
Former Delta State strongman James Ibori, there waving to the crowd of supporters that thronged his country home in Ogara to welcome him. It was a triumphant entry for the robo-born politician who established himself as a kingmaker and cheerful giver in Delta State before he went on exile and ended up imprisoned in the United Kingdom. The supporters that came out to welcome the former governor cut across ethnic divides in the state, and their presence.
Now look at the oppressed. Look at the people, these same people your money was taken. This money was the reason why you don't have pipe-on water. This money is the reason why your parents will die because there is no hospital to take them to. This money is the reason why there is no road. This money is the reason why the airport in Asaba was not done properly and it's falling apart. And all you can do is to celebrate. When the initial COVID lockdown was lifted, the former governor of Abia State was also seen in Imo State when he landed on his way to Iberia. And people like this again came out. Everybody shouting, your savior, your savior. When is your brain going to be reset that will begin to frown on these things? Isn't it clear to us that we are over-concentrating on the federal government? Whereas those actually clean us gingerly, gently, gradually, bit by bit, are our siblings and our brothers, our sisters, our chiefs, our whatever we call them within our locality. Things accruing to us, due to us. Truth remains that the truth must be told. Can we step down a little bit, move away from this so much federal government yada, and look inwards? Does it bother you today that there is virtually no state within the southern Nigeria? Let's talk about Southeast, because it's always easy. The North. Which state in the Southeast today has local government election as at when due, not all these caretaker appointed, where they give them 5% to 10% of what is accruable to the local government? Which state? Buhari is working, trying to make sure, Buhari is trying whatever he can to make sure that this separation happens, that this local government will be getting their own allocations. The governors are fighting it. And all of us are keeping quiet. Are we not part of the problem? How can we not hold our leaders to account within our vicinity? How did we somehow get this rankadede mentality? Some of them will say, oh, they will give us keke. Oh, they will give us a sewing machine, constituency project, Bukwa Onudia. And people are supporting this madness. People are supporting this. These things ought to change.